episode 254 of Global from Asia, Asia or China to Mexico and Latin America.
Welcome to the Global from Asia podcast, where the daunting process of running an international business is broken down into straight-up, actionable advice. And now, your host, Michael Michelini.
Hope everybody's doing great this Tuesday. When this show is online, I will be actually going into a bank meeting in Hong Kong. It'll be quite some time since I have been in Hong Kong. I think maybe October 2018, about more than 6 months ago or so. And meeting up with Ray at Unipro, doing some bank meeting, and then getting a few people together for a little round table, small little thing, and checking out this cross-border summit venue options in Guangzhou on Wednesday, the next day after the show goes live. And then Thursday, a little workshop in Shenzhen. I got another training session for a corporate company on Saturday, and then heading back to Chiang Mai, Thailand on Saturday for my son's birthday. Don't know if I should admit, but I kind of took a corporate training project at the same day as my son's birthday, but I will be back for dinner. Luckily, China and Thailand aren't too far away from each other. Speaking of which, had conversations with some reporters. Obviously, this hot topic of the U.S.-China trade war has been everywhere, and we're all kind of wondering what to do. I've been looking at different options as well. I mean, we buy quite a bit in China here, as well as many of you probably selling online. I mean, who can't buy from China? So it'll definitely change the way things happen, probably forever. You know, I think I was saying to the reporters for an article they're working on, I think no matter what, even if taxes go back down, I think I read this in some other groups, no matter what, the people aren't going to trust the tariffs like conditions. I think people will be looking for other options, looking for other sources. So I think Southeast Asia and other parts of Asia, or maybe even in manufacturing in the US, maybe that'll actually happen. It's pretty amazing, to be honest. And we are just pushing ahead here. Today's show, let's get into the conversation. Today's show, Mar Rodriguez. I met her so many years ago. We'll talk about it in the interview, but she's a YouTuber, vlogger, content creator, B2B trader, doing China and Latin America trade. And we have some interesting conversation about a little bit about the trade war, but also more about trading between China and some of her experiences doing content marketing and having Chinese factories jumping on her posts to try to get customers directly, which is pretty crazy, and some other interesting facts. So without further ado, let's get into the interview, and then afterwards I'll do some blah 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 a little bit, but some of the experiences with Latin America. Thank you to our sponsor, GoRemit.hk. I am making payments with a lot of the different countries they use. I've been a user. I like to promote, and I'm so happy they've sponsored the show as well because I use them. I am also talking about other countries. They are expanding and listening to their users, but they're a perfect solution for Hong Kong payments into mainland China, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, and other countries around the world. I'm actually talking to them right now about some other countries. They are very friendly and open to talk to their users, which is why they're awesome, and that's what a startup and tech company should do. Thank you for sponsoring. Check them out, www.goremit.hk. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to a Global from Asia podcast. This has been a show on my list for a long time. Mar Rodriguez. She's been a friend of mine in Shenzhen for many, many years. Also a YouTuber, content creator, trading businesswoman between Latin America and China and Asia. Thanks for coming on to the show today, Mar.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's been a long time, but finally I'm here.
Finally, yeah. It's great. I remember we met, I think it was 2010 or 11 at like a startup conference in Shenzhen, and we had kept in touch, and you also came and supported and attended. Actually, this one of your YouTube videos comes up in the search results for the Cross Border Summit. You did a review about it, and it's always been supportive. So, do you want
Yeah,
to?
it was years after that. But yeah, I remember actually in the startup, my team won, so I was very proud about it.
Yeah, it's true. You guys did great. I remember it was the early days when nobody in China even seemed to know what a startup or a co-working space or an entrepreneur was. I remember we were like explaining it to everybody at the event. So it's
Yeah,
crazy
it
how
was very
things have
fun.
changed. Cool. So do you want to maybe introduce how? I'm actually a little bit curious. I don't know the full story. How did you first get to China? And your what's your China story?
Okay, sure. So first of all, I was previously living in Singapore because my father was working there as an expat for Motorola. And since that time, I started liking, the Eastern kind of culture, especially Chinese, because in Singapore there are so many Chinese people. Basically, sorry, in Singapore, most of the majority of the population there are Chinese. So I started getting interested about like the Chinese culture and the Chinese language. And after my studies there, which were high school studies, I just wanted to move to China and I just pursue my degree here. So I went to Shenzhen University. And that time that we met back in the day, I think it was
Y-
2010 or 11,
Yep,
it was
yep,
on a startup and it was just very nearby, like Shenzhen University. It was actually in Nanshan, if you remember that.
yep, yep. Yeah, we were near at the high
So
tech park. Yeah.
yeah, Hyder Park, exactly. So I thought, okay, why I will not attend this event since I like, this entrepreneurship thing. I always was interested on it. So I went to this event, and at that moment, I was still a student of Shenzhen University. So I just finished my degree, and after I start little by little working here, because I start uploading some videos like when I was in university about like life in China or products, and people start asking me to sell them products. So I have a platform now, so I sell basically to most of my market, like most of my clients. The main market is Latin America. So yeah, that's how I stay here.
Exciting. Yeah, I remember asking you. I remember when we first talked there. You were, yeah, like you said, you were in university and you were also doing the trading B2B. I don't. I don't want to be ignorant, but I'm going to ask just because maybe listeners also aren't aware. Latin America is like what counts as Latin America actually?
Okay, so basically, I'm talking about, well, not just, yeah, since I'm from Mexico, just, I don't know if you've mentioned this previously, but I'm from Mexico.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I should have asked you
Mexico,
that. Yep.
yeah. So I'm from, supposedly it's North America, right? But Latin America, I'm Latin also, like as a race. So um, I think Latin America must comprehend like Mexico and Central America as well as South America. So I just will call Latin America. Most of my clients are from Spanish-speaking countries in the American continent, I will say. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, Latin America's been a popular topic, in our various content here at Global from Asia and the events. I mean, it seems like it's still a growing market. I mean, it's always been like a growth market. And um, how would you say the market conditions are between maybe China and Latin America
Okay.
now versus
So
since you started, or just some insights would be interesting for sure.
yeah, sure. Okay, so first when I started, there was a lot of interest from people. I mean, from basically a lot of people, let's say from countries like Peru or Chile, Bolivia. A lot of clients there do not speak English because they don't have like like us in Mexico, we have borders with the USA, so it's quite common to speak English just because we travel there, or some American companies have come to Mexico, or the slang it's even Mexican mixed with some, I mean, sorry, the Mexican slang can be like some Spanish with some English words together. But like in other countries, it's not very common to speak English. And so they found me as how to say, like as an intermediary to help them with their business. And back in the day, it was super popular. Like they were so few companies doing it. But this has been developing so fast, as you might know as well, and so many of you are listening to this podcast. For example, the platform like Alibaba already is translated in Spanish as well as in so many other languages, and it's super easy for clients directly to reach these big platforms and these big events like Canton Fair in Spanish language, and to contact even those platforms, and they will have someone in their mother tongue answering whatever is that they want to, to know. So it's, I will say, in that regard of like competition wise, before it was kind of a cracking up market, and now it's of course increasing in like companies doing the same thing, like the trading thing, and a lot of clients are just wanting to come directly, like they just want to come directly and search for factories, because now we have like the social media. I've seen a lot of companies, factories directly just posting their stuff on Instagram, or so many also Chinese suppliers just go directly to Facebook. I used to have a very popular Facebook page, and whoever will write me a comment, this Chinese supplier will just directly catch those people and be like,
Oh,
hey, I'm a supplier. So
that's
yeah, it's quite hard,
that's
it's
that's
quite
that's
hard.
that's tricky. That's not nice, I don't think.
Exactly. So it's very tricky, as you said, that's the correct word. Like, which platform to use best?
Mm,
Because you have all these comments and you want to increase your interactions, right? Like on social media, and that's good for you. But also, it can be an aspect if you are making business, because so many other Chinese suppliers are following me. And since I have, like, let's say, thousands of people following me, I'm not very sure who is who. And they will not post a comment, they just directly will be contacting with my other fans, and I
I
will never
see.
know about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a big topic. Another thing is, like, so many Chinese business people are willing to outsource some goods from abroad, especially Latin America. It's a very good source of like natural products. Like nowadays, I have this friend from China. He's opening a company of like natural goodies, and she's importing from Bolivia quinoa.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Yeah,
It's
so
like a
she went
seed,
she
yeah.
went
Yeah.
directly. Yeah, it's a very like nutritious kind of grain kind of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
grain.
it's
Yeah.
just like rice will pop up when you cook it. So she just directly went. Like, she's from Beijing. She opened her company in Beijing, and she went directly to Bolivia to get her like supplier.
Wow.
And went also to Colombia to get coffee, and also wants to go to Peru to get other stuff. So I think this is the business that is gonna be seen on the future to come, as well as now in the present. You can see that Chinese are willing to pay the price for really good stuff abroad, and those could be some products.
Sure. I mean, just some ideas. I think we talk about it on the show. I mean, building a brand, I think, is also important, and maybe some ideas is for listeners or for people doing social media is maybe trying. B2B is good.
Mm-hmm.
Is good because you get bigger orders up front, but sometimes, like you said, they might want just care about the price, or they might not want the service or care about the service as much, maybe, but maybe promoting branded products could be an idea too. Is I'm not sure. Have not
Yeah.
just
So basically, if I can tell more about my background, is like I started doing this YouTube channel. So welcome you all. If
Yep,
you want to
yep,
follow me, I have a channel in English which is called From China with Love.
yep.
And I base that channel more of my travels as well as my recommendations, because I am eating plant-based here, as he knows, and perhaps many of you.
Yeah.
And I have this other channel, which is like the Spanish channel. My name there is Marcari. Also welcome to follow. So in that channel, I'll mostly promote the products and also business models, which I think it's very interesting here, because I found out that they have a lot of creativity to create different kind of models compared to Mexico or perhaps elsewhere, right?
Yep.
As well as just some trends in China. So that's how basically I just have a fan base, and then I just lead them to my big platform where I am selling like wholesale to business, and also individuals, like just entrepreneurs who are starting, right? And they don't have such a company. but also have the quantity to start. So yeah, that's how we do it. And if you're talking brand wise, I'll say like I'm branding myself because I'm just kind of offering my services as well as my know-how and my experience. So if you type like in the Google Marketing, you will find all my information about like my videos and so many other related things like my website. I have a blog, etc.
Sure.
So
I'll link it
yeah.
on the show notes for sure.
So that's in Spanish, but in Mexico, I'm quite well known for this. So I think I will say brand wise, I'm branding my own self,
Great.
myself. I'm
Yeah,
the asset.
personal brand is definitely valuable. I mean, I guess maybe here, I have, I guess Global from Asia is probably more of, I mean, it's a name of a show, but of course it's very connected to me as an individual. So I think we're similar, we have similar, positions. But yeah, personal brand is very valuable long term, and people know and trust you, and they want to do business with you, and they even if somebody were to, like you said, a Chinese supplier, to contact them directly, they probably would, many of your good fans would prefer to do business with you or buy your products or your brand. So it's definitely, I think, the best model for sure. And
Yeah, I also think on a long run, right? Like because you can keep changing business models. Like let's say now this is not working, but I'm still Michael McClellan, I'm still Mark Rives. So tomorrow I'm gonna just do B model, and I still have my fan base. So yeah,
got it. Yeah, I mean it's yeah, audience. I guess they call it building an audience is it's most work, but it's probably the most valuable thing as long as you take good care of that audience. And of course, you got to balance, selling and making income, and also educating and providing for your
mm-hmm.
audience. But I think it also connects to a brand, right? I mean, a brand is a group of people, an audience, a trusted place people go for a certain type of product or service. So yeah, I agree. It's the best long term, and but I think yeah, I've seen your English videos, which we'll also link. Your travels in China, and you're great. You have your camera. Sometimes you have like the, how do I say, the hidden camera. You're like, I've seen some where you're like, this couple behind me is doing some
Oh yeah,
fighting behind me, or you have you're really giving us the insights, a lot of different things in life and culture in China. So
yeah. Another thing which I would like to sum up here is like because of my channel, like they saw that I was just showing China, I got to receive some opportunities as well to travel to other places and like we, like reimburse like the whole trip because they just wanted me to take the videos for showing people because they want to promote more tourism in China. So I thought that it was a very good, interesting opportunity, which I wasn't really aware of before.
that's great.
And yeah, I also think it's a great chance to open like the markets of tourism, not just like, people know about Beijing, Shanghai, or Guangzhou, but recently I went to Guizhou or other places which are very unknown to foreigners, and I think new chances are coming as well in China.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting point to talk about. I think, I guess they call it first tier and second tier, third tier cities.
Cities, yeah.
So I kind of agree. I think going deeper into China is probably the better opportunity now, right? I mean, I think the first tier is kind of almost too many foreigners, or too much like, maybe
Yeah.
maybe now is the opportunity, like you said, you get these opportunities to expose people to these small, I don't want to say smaller, I'm catching my, how there's still millions of people, population, multi-millions, but
Yeah.
they're small compared to the first tier cities. But there's definitely a lot of cool stuff happening there. And is that, I mean, how do you feel, I guess, as of recording, right now there's this huge Donald Trump stuff. I don't know. I don't know if, I don't usually get political, but it's obviously connected to business. I don't know.
Business,
Does
yeah.
this hurt or help Latin America and China?
Then
I think is
we
again.
will see it coming. Yeah, everybody will see. I'm not very sure how it will be affecting right now, especially, I mean, myself in particular. But I've seen like all my suppliers posting the news about that just a few days ago on the WeChat. about the raise on tariffs. So definitely, perhaps on some products will be somehow adjustment, but I'm not sure overall like what is exactly going to be like the result.
Mm.
Because I have a lot of clients. I would like to add as well, like a lot of my clients which are from Latin America in general, like Spanish speaking people from Central, South, and perhaps North America, Mexico, that are living actually in the USA and that are importing goods to there. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I've heard I've heard of some actually maybe positives it might be for Latin America. I mean, I think China's, from what I understand, been investing a lot over the years in South America or Latin America. With I guess globally they're buying everywhere, but I
Yeah.
think that there's a lot of natural resources, like you had mentioned in the interview today. There China's obviously consuming a lot, so they've been buying a lot, and
Yeah, you can see, for example, avocado has been popping. Like, wow, they made like milkshake of avocado. Yeah, it's just very recent. Like back in the day when we met, I didn't see that much avocado around. But now
yeah,
you go to a point and avocado is a thing.
yeah, yeah, those are great. I love it, and um, I just think I think it might be a positive. Actually, some people think you could even maybe get around the U.S. trade problem by sending to, what is that word? Macador. It's where you send to Mexico or another country from China and then assemble it in Mexico and then
Mm,
send it into America. And there's like
yeah,
tax advantages of doing something like that. I've
yeah,
Macedonia. I'm forgetting the name. It's a Spanish word, but I've it's like a term. Maybe that'll also be. I've heard that might be an opportunity actually. If the tariffs go up, you might send your goods to Latin America and then kind of assemble it there, or do other kind of things before it goes into the United States. Things like that might start popping up, but it seems like nobody really
yeah.
knows. Yeah.
As well as like the cost of like production. This is like speak all over the internet. Like it's not as before. So perhaps people is thinking like, oh, China is super cheap, but it's not. It's not to be what it used
Yeah,
to like back in the
exactly.
day. So even of us, many of our friends have been leaving China because of this very reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the production costs here are increasing, and they are just in focusing more on like the national market, who has the power, the capital to purchase, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's very interesting times, and I guess it's good content for your channel and this in here, and it's I'm watching it. Everybody's watching it closely, but yeah, as we're talking now, it's just the middle of May, and the news, we don't even actually know what's going to happen with the U.S. China. But I think I kind of agree with what I've read is it's definitely going to, no matter what happens, people are not going to feel as comfortable. It's always going to be now, this is this going to, because people thought that this stuff was over, and it just kind of popped up again. Like people thought it was not as big of a problem, but I think it's going to always affect now, like people's thought of buying from Chinese factories now is like this risk with the
Yeah,
taxes. So
yeah, exactly. Before it was like, oh, you don't give it a thought. But now, since this is happening, what about tomorrow they launch this other law on tariffs? Then you are on a big, like on a trouble if you already have your supplier line assembled and everything. So somehow it will affect surely.
yeah, and just thinking here, I hope it helps your business, our everybody's. Hopefully, I guess you gotta try to think of the. I guess that's what business is about. Is trying to do your best to predict the future, and no matter what, building a brand or building you're doing great with your content. I know how much work it is. As you know, I just like to actually mostly focus on audio like this show, but
Yeah,
especially,
audio is much better.
yeah, video is especially hard. I mean, the editing, to make, I see you also have, I feel like it's a Spanish style where you have the kind of the more cartoony style editing. It's kind of cool. And,
Yeah, well,
and, so, well, what would you recommend listeners, today, with with these opportunities or these challenges in Latin America, US, China,
Yeah.
like you said, factories maybe trying to go direct, and
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
So since you know that I am, well, I consider myself a plant-based, or you will say vegan person,
Yeah,
and I am
vegan.
always on the look of like natural stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this industry is growing very fastly in the recent years. So if you are someone that has somehow a contact, or you are a producer somehow abroad of these kind of products, which might be of interest to China, I just mentioned a few examples, but of course there are so many more.
Yep.
I think there's a good chance of doing trade with them instead of just the old model of like, buying cheap stuff from China and reselling them on your countries. Because nowadays it's quite hard. Like 4 years ago, when I first opened my business, or 5 years ago, we had like, well, say 8 times the quantities of now. But now Chinese arrive there and they position themselves and they kill the market with their prices,
Mm-hmm.
and with them so many business around. And I think it's happening like global wide, like everywhere. I've seen so many of my friends, like they were Turkish or Arabic, no Arabic, not so much, but like Turkish, where they also have embraced the competition of the Chinese themselves, going abroad and establishing themselves in other countries and just killing the price. So this business is no longer as it was before. I'm not gonna say like in all the industries, but I'm saying like, for example, I was doing gadgets, and we will sell for good prices. But now the income, it's not as high as before because of the big competition. So I think where you can really earn some profit is like selling to China, of course, selling some natural. Now they like the word organic. It's getting very popular, and with the certificate and everything, I think there is a good chance. Actually, I've seen that. I think in this week it's gonna be like the first exposition ever of veganism happening in China
Nice.
in Hangzhou. Yeah, so many foreign companies are coming here to expose their products for the Chinese market to start buying their franchisees or their brand names, etc. So
Awesome.
it's nice. I think this market is good for the long term run. Yeah.
It's it's really it's really great. And is that something you can people? I think. I mean, everyone wants to sell to China, but it's not as easy as buying from a Chinese factory and selling in your home country.
Yeah, that's right, of
It's
course.
I think they need somebody. I mean, is that something you could help with? I mean, if there's a listener that has like an organic product that they think would be good for China, is there, or if you don't, what would you tell them to do? Especially if they're not. A lot of listeners aren't in China, or don't speak
Yeah.
Chinese. You actually, the other thing I want to say is you study Chinese. You speak really well, and other things. So I mean, that's really hard for somebody listening in the U.S. or Europe or
Yeah.
wherever they are today to get into. Is that something either you could help, or what would you tell them to do? Go to this expo? I guess expos are good.
Yeah, I would say exactly. Like you can go to an expo. I mean, it depends, right? On your scope. What about if you have already your certifications, you are already exporting to other countries, and if you are a newbie on the market, then I think you first should get some information about what is it needed for like export, because I got contacted by so many people like, hey, I have this, I have that, but they don't have the experience and they don't even have like the right documents to be exporting, as well as there are some others who are already ready. So I guess in these two cases, first get to know more about what is that you need to sell to China, and second, yeah, I think one option will be to come to an expo. I also saw this one happening last year. I went to Hong Kong. This was in Hong Kong, not in mainland, but the one I told you just in Hangzhou is going to be on mainland. This one in Hong Kong last year was also about somehow natural products. And a lot of Peruvians came here selling quinoa, and they say, wow, this market is really popping, and it was so worthwhile for them to come here because there are so many, Chinese mainlanders that are willing to go to Hong Kong to those expos to get like, the good deals, because they know that they can get direct prices from the suppliers, the producers right back in Peru. So these venues are a great option for you to to expose yourself, to come and give some samples. I went there and it was really impressive, like how big this market is growing. I'm talking about this market, sorry, because I'm into this.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't think
like
that
you've
this is the only
mentioned.
chance in whole China, but I'm very into this thing, and he knows, so that's why I'm just speaking for my experience. But of course, there are so many other products I might guess, right?
Yeah, well, it's good to share your experience, your knowledge, your insights, and I would agree. I mean, I think Chinese are investing in health and nutrition, and it's something that is important. And I think the other advantage of they trust foreigners, right? Like they do trust the expertise of
Yes,
foreigners.
that's very weird. It's just like the how to say, this model, go my how to call it? My go? What is it?
Uh,
Tygo? What is it?
uh,
The one person that travels abroad and
oh
takes drugs
yeah,
into
uh,
China.
yeah. Hi, it's true. I know. Man, we're
Daigo,
both
Daigo.
Daigo.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this concept it was created because of their trust of what you were just talking about. Like they trust foreign brands more than they trust their own brand. So they are willing to pay the price as well. So that's why this concept was created. Like there's this one person who is no just a normal individual, no with a company, just take like two cases and go to Australia or Korea and takes like really good quality products, some organic, some skincare, whatever for the baby. And people here is willing to pay the price, even though you don't know that person, but he's selling, and you say like, okay, give me this. So that is just a low scale example of how this market is willing to pay the price for those goods.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I think we've mentioned on the show, and I'm sure you've talked, share on your channels, like I think anywhere in business, but especially in China, you have to always add value or you'll get cut out. So I think by you being like you said, certifications, experience, knowledge in this product from your home country, and willing to educate the market in China how to use the product, why it's good, why they should buy your brand or your product versus somebody else's, and and yeah, it's good. But I guess come out to China, go to one of these trade shows like these natural product. I think that's always a good way to get into the market and learn. Is head to an industry event, whether it's in China or anywhere in the world. Really, is you'll see people in the industry, see what kind of products are out there. I think that's definitely an effective way.
Yeah. For example, there is this. I don't know if you have ever seen this shop, which is called like Pagoda.
Don't think so, but I'm not in the industry so much. So,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead. It might. I think.
Okay, so there's this shop in China called Pagoda by Guoyuan, and it's like super big. It's like I think has like a lot of thousands of shops all over China. Just in Shenzhen, like 5,000 or so, and it just had opened like a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I think it was in 2010 when it was created, and then little by little with one shop, and the second year two shops, and just by hundreds, and now thousands. It is even an IPO right now on the stock market in the
Amazing.
USA. Yeah, it's great. So once I was doing this video for my Spanish channel, just anyone out there who's speaking Spanish, I would like to go and watch. As well as I have the link, perhaps for this video we
Yeah,
can link
yeah.
it
Send it to
in
me.
English. I
I'll
have
link.
the
Oh, you do? Okay, perfect.
yeah, I have also the English one. So the thing is like this shop, because it sells that much fruit like all over China, every day, 7 days a week, and it's open from like very early morning to very late. It got it. They just go directly to the supplier. Like they have, producers. They have like 3 or 4, I think, producers in Mexico. They even have the pictures of the ranch where they get their avocados from.
Wow.
So they are not like really, intermediating with someone. They go directly. And then I was like asking, because I was filming this video about where do they get their other stuff from, and they were like, okay, we got it directly from this place. So they will just go directly, and that's really great. Perhaps many people are not very well educated on how it is working on China, but just to see this example is like you can have a vision of how big you can grow if you just get to have one of these contracts,
Yeah, I mean, that's a show in itself how to get something like that. But it's
Yeah.
definitely amazing if there's somebody listeners could get into that. But I probably would start with a trade show. Of course, that we didn't bring up the word guanxi or relationships, but I'm sure that also has, you have to know people or have people in your company that know people to get in. I think that's true anywhere in the world, really. To get into these large distribution contracts takes relationships and time to build those relationships. But it's exciting. I mean, this has been a really fascinating conversation, Mar, and maybe I know you maybe let's kind of like let's start to wrap up a little bit about, of course, we mentioned, you'll definitely make sure you send me some of those links to those videos. I'll link to your channel, at least in
Okay,
English. Sure. And I kind of asked already, but I think, what would you recommend? This maybe the last kind of advice. Somebody trying to get into the China market now. What would be maybe? I know it depends. There's obviously depends on where they are. Maybe if they're early stage development, maybe they have a product idea, like maybe in this natural category, but they don't speak Chinese. They maybe never been to China before. They're in their home country, say in the West. What would be? I guess learn,
Yeah.
right? Learn is what you would say.
Well, that's very tricky because, as you say now, a product. So when they have so many clients that have a product and are really kind of scared, to be like scammed with their know-how and people making it here. So that's another story compared to selling like natural products which cannot be like replicated. You know what I mean, right?
True. Yeah, of course. So yeah, of course, a lot of people are always afraid to share their idea or their product.
So first, I would recommend if you have it also depends on which kind of product, of course, but I would recommend you to come to a trade show if you are really willing to pay for the investment of it and you are, kind of sure that it has somehow a potential. And a lot of those suppliers, which I've mentioned previously, from Peru selling quinoa or from Mexico selling other things, came first to Hong Kong, because that's kind of a hub, from where you can launch your products. And perhaps after you can consider mainland, because so many mainland importers are taking stuff from Hong Kong. So perhaps you can get to have a good deal there. Because, coming to mainland is another thing. It's like, like you said, perhaps it could be too troublesome for some, but you can start from there. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think that's great. Hong Kong is a great one too, and it's also got a decent market. I have friends that have like retail stores there that are doing distribution, and then it's like a gateway into China, and also Southeast Asia is a huge opportunity, and finding like partners. But thanks so much for your sharing openly, Mara. I know you're a content creator like me, and I'm happy. I hope this show helps get you some new subscribers. Definitely, if you guys are enjoying this, check out her YouTube channel's English, and if you want to see her Spanish channel too, I'll link it up and support her. And I don't want to be annoying. I kind of think it's annoying, but it's also, you're a female business owner. Yeah. It's really, I feel actually guilty a lot of times. I don't have many females in our content and that are, but you're out there. I really am proud to see your hard work and your consistency. So especially as, I hate to say it because it's a woman. I don't know. There's all these groups of women entrepreneurs, and I don't want to say because you're a woman, you're a great business person, regardless. But it's great to finally have you on the show, and I hope to continue to see your development.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, and welcome to follow me on this channel, as well as to suggest us some future topics, perhaps for the channel, for the podcast. Maybe he can develop with me or with someone else, etc.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Okay.
When this show is going online, I will be in Hong Kong and China, and I'm going to go check out some venues for the 4th annual crossbordersummit.com, October 22nd and 23rd. We are working hard to make it as valuable and action-packed and about making deals, meeting amazing people from our show, listeners from our show. If you enjoy what you are listening to and want to support, definitely a way is attending our cross-border summit. You, of course, hopefully can meet me. I will try my best to meet all of our attendees, and we'll try to get speakers and sponsors from the show to come. And it's just always been a powerful time. Every year, I believe it gets better, and not always bigger, but better. We're focusing on quality here, not quantity. Check it out, www.crossbordersummit.com. Thank you so much.
Blah, blah, blah.
It's blah, blah, blah time.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, let's do it. So, thank you for listening all the way through to the end of this show. Mar is amazing. I used to do videos. I used to be vlogging. I'll try to record when I'm in Hong Kong, Shenzhen, because I'll be running around and I'll carry a camera in my face. But, I have a lot of respect for people. We've had Serpent ZA, Winston also on the show, and Mar, and I kind of hide behind my microphone, but I try to focus on long form audio content. I mean, if you're listening all the way through, I know a lot of you, like Frederick from China Import Hall and others, are listening. I think you're just on the go. You got your headphones on or your AirPods on or whatever they're called, and you're listening. I think if the camera's in my face, I can't, at least for me, I can't get as deep in a conversation. So I still think, at least I hope audio will stick around for a while. To be on camera and be on a video, at least for me personally, I can't think as clearly about the content. I like the audio. You can get deeper into the content. Plus, it's, I'm not going to lie, it's a lot easier to make this. I set up a phone call and have a conversation, and Alvin, our editor, is amazing and gets this all together, and Cheryl gets this posted, and our other team makes sure it happens and gets online, like Mindy. So thank you, everybody, for helping make this happen and listening to it. And a little bit of Latin America. As some of you might have known, I went down to meet Esteban in Colombia about over a year and a half ago. And it was my first time to South America. I had been Mexico before. Maybe I'll talk about some Mexico experiences as well. But yeah, we are still working on the summit in Colombia or in Latin America. I really am fascinated about this trade. I think Esteban spoke at the Cross-Border Summit in 2018 about the opportunities that this trade war that seems to be picking up will bring to Latin America. The idea that China will make more trade deals with other allies or other trading partners, such as those countries in Latin America, as the war between China and the U.S., or trade war, has to pick up. So I do think there's going to be some opportunities between Asia and Latin America. That's why I'm glad we got Mara on the show. I honestly don't have much on-the-ground experiences doing it myself. I do have interest to try to sell there or try to have some logistics center there. I know I've seen people talk about it in different groups online. Can I ship to Hong Kong from China and then say it's made in Hong Kong and send it to America to not pay the tariffs? I know you guys are trying to be creative out there, but that is fraud. That is lying. You can't really lie and say where something is made. But defining made, I know some people could define made if you do a certain amount of percentage assembly or a certain amount of packaging or something. I don't want to get so technical. Maybe that could be a future topic. But I know some people send from China to Mexico or Latin America and have it somewhat assembled and put together there and then sent to America. And then it's a little bit gray, or you got to be a little bit careful, but maybe it could be made in Mexico or made in certain parts of Latin America that has less, especially if there's this huge tariffs with China. So that could be an opportunity for you, which maybe I should look into, or you should look into, or maybe somebody could send me an email at mike@globalfromasia.com with a tip on that. There's terms that's existed since before I even came to China. People were doing that. I'm forgetting the Spanish word, but I know there's people when I lived in San Diego for quite some time, and there was people sending product from China to Mexico to do assembly, and they did say a certain percentage of work was done in Mexico could be considered made in Mexico, and then there was certain trade agreements. I'm not even sure what's up with NAFTA. I haven't followed the trade agreements with the U.S. and Mexico and Canada. I've heard Trump is working on making some changes, so I don't know. But they would say they could get it into America from Mexico at a much better rate than from China to the U.S. directly. So I know that might be something interesting for you to think about. Also, for more blah, 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 I'll switch it up to Mexico. Yeah, I lived in San Diego in 2007. It was kind of my buffer, my de-stressing from Wall Street before China. I didn't think I would live in China. Honestly, it was my buddy Peter had a spare room 2 blocks from the beach in Ocean Beach. And I was working online doing eBay and websites, a little bit of, I don't even think I was doing Amazon yet, and that's 2007. I did do Amazon. I had Channel Advisor, and but it definitely was nothing like it is now. And I think it was like 10% of our sales was Amazon. Mostly it was website actually, and some B2B back in the day. I got bored, to be honest. I was getting bored in San Diego. It's so beautiful, but I did take some trips down to south of the border to Mexico. Unfortunately, it wasn't too much business. It was mostly for fun with our... Peter is Polish, Piotr, born in Poland. I think his parents are. I don't want to be wrong. Maybe he was born in the U.S. or... I think he was born in Poland. But anyway, I was with all these Polish friends of his, these hardcore drinkers, and I don't think, obviously there was a sober driver, but I was not sober, and we went into Tijuana a few Friday or Saturday nights in my days in San Diego, and... I don't want to get too much in trouble on the podcast, but it was definitely I remember, I think it was the first time I went to Mexico when I was in San Diego. I did go to Cancun spring break in college, but definitely my first time to Tijuana, which is a border city on Mexico-California border, not too far from San Diego. And we were kind of laughing because it was like Fort Knox. It was like, there was like... the border from Mexico into America was like cement wall, like zigzagged cement walls with like lights, barbed wire, like dudes with guns, I think. It was like scary. But then the other side was entering Mexico. I don't want to disrespect, but there was like no security. I just feel like we just kind of kicked a chain link fence door with our foot, and it just opened and it said like, "Welcome to Mexico." And I think it was an early YouTube video of mine, but we just had some tacos right on the other side of the chain link fence in Mexico. But coming back to America was scary. They were serious. I mean, it was late at night. We had, seems like some college students that were under 21 do that quite a bit in California. I was over 21, so it wasn't the reason I had to go, but they were pretty rough. The customs, U.S. customs coming back. So it was much, much, much more difficult to get back into America. We all did, luckily. I've had other border stories in my days with my friends in Canada to the U.S. too, in September 11th, 2001 days. But we can save that for another episode. I hope you guys enjoyed today. But I've always been fascinated with this cross-border. We're still called Global from Asia. Our summit is called Cross-Border Summit. I don't know. I was going to call it the GFA Summit, but just thought cross-border was cooler, and I'm kind of lazy to change the Global from Asia podcast to like the cross-border podcast or something like that. But it is more than just Asia. I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed this interview with Marguerite Rodriguez. Very talented, a beautiful woman. Check her out on YouTube. She's really great. She's vegan, as she mentioned. She's extremely health conscious. And she's very helpful. So hopefully some people will view her YouTube videos, hit that subscribe button, hit that like up button on hers. Definitely hit the subscribe on our iTunes or whatever you're listening to today as well. And we will try to be as unique as possible, talking about crazy trades between all around the world in this cross-border business e-commerce world. And I hope I can get into China when the show's on. I'll have a 10-year visa. Just got it. scared with this trade war thing, but I got it, and I will be in China. Hopefully, it doesn't affect the cross-border summit either, this trade war. We will see how things go. Thanks again for listening.
To get more info about running an international business, please visit our website at www.globalfromasia.com. That's www.globalfromasia.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our iTunes feed. Thanks for tuning in.